Enjoy more of the things you love with TCL. These two guys have Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackie and Judd on SKOR North and SKORNorth.com.
And welcome into Mackie and Judd. No Mackie today, back on Monday. So it's Judd and executive producer of the Mackie and Judd show, Declan Goff, from the TCL broadcast studios, where, of course, we originate each and every day, at least Declan and I do.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what? Mackie gets his own.
He's going to have his own studio
in PMAX Studios in
Seattle.
In what, Seattle?
But he's still going to be doing the show. Just so
Correct.
people, people don't get confused. Like for a week now, quickly to explain, Phil and his wife are moving to Seattle, but Phil is still going to do the show. He's going to be, I believe, settled there by Monday. So as far as the listening and or viewing experience goes, and if you do watch us on YouTube and all those other friendly places, we appreciate it. Nothing will change for you. So as far as when we do refer to Phil being in Seattle, he's still doing the show. So
that's good.
Speaking of Seattle,
that's the promotion. Yep.
A candidate for an NBA team, I believe, still, right? And possibly an expansion team, possibly an existing team to move. That was certainly that, and Vegas were mentioned in an Instagram post from Kevin Garnett yesterday, which, of course, as usual, did not fail to take shots at Wolves owner Glen Taylor.
Yeah.
So KG got on Instagram and put out a I guess for Instagram purposes, fairly lengthy message about the fact that he made it sound like he has been told that his group is out on the bidding for the Wolves. Okay.
Yep.
Now, here's what's interesting about that. So, our guy, Doogie, from The Scoop, Chris Hine from the Star Tribune, Johnny Krasinski, I'm sure, from The Athletic, Jace Frederick from the Pioneer Press, blah, blah, blah. Go down the whole list of all the people that cover the Minnesota Timberwolves, all called Glen Taylor to get a comment, because this is news because Garnett has been told he's out, and this is news because it's news about the potential sale that we heard a ton about in July when Garnett found out, or when we found out that Garnett was among the groups or had a group that was going to try to bid on the Wolves, and most importantly, that they were being sold. Glen Taylor, who would not comment or did not return messages when he was involved in firing Ryan Saunders, one of the first families of basketball, right? The Saunderses. A couple weeks ago, they fire Ryan, who grew up around Glen, who you would think that Glen would have, called people back and said, yeah, it's a really tough day. Talk to Gerson about the basketball part, but right. I will share with you that this is tough. I did not enjoy doing this. It stinks. But he did not return those calls. But he couldn't wait to pick up the speed dial and return calls about Kevin Garnett, and Garnett saying that his group was out because what Glen said was Kevin and Kevin's group never contacted us. All right, I'm at the point now, and Dex, I'm not sure where you stand on this.
Okay.
The feud itself is embarrassing. I'm tired of the feud. Like, these two now just go back and forth. Like, nothing between Glen and Kevin can be civil.
No.
Like it's all, like, from Kevin's standpoint, it's F-bombs. From Glen, it's he didn't call me. I've got nothing to do. This isn't my fault. Glen, you did Kevin wrong twice. Kevin holds a grudge forever. I'm just tired of the entire feud because it's just another layer on the embarrassment that is the Wolves, okay?
Yeah.
So it's just a shame, but this franchise has consistently, for how many years now, caused us embarrassment. But here's where I think that there is news, and it could be good news if Glen Taylor follows through on the reports that we saw yesterday, and that, of course, is always a big if. He said, in trying to say that the Garnett group did not contact him, that more than 10 groups have made inquiries, and that the sales process for the Timberwolves has picked up.
Mm-hmm.
Doogie told us on The Scoop a few weeks ago, or a month ago or so, that he thought it had actually slowed down because Glen has stopped and started on the sale 1,000 times before.
Yeah, he's done this for years.
Yeah, and I believe it was back in 2015 when Glen, when a lot of people thought that Glen was going to sell, including Dukes, and then he didn't sell, and then he not only didn't sell, he just sort of ended the entire process. Okay.
Right.
But the news from yesterday, if there are 10 groups and the sales process is picking up, Hallelujah. Praise be to God. It is about time, and it is time, okay?
Yeah.
I was doing some digging today
on your own little scoops
on the Glen Taylor. Well, no, just research.
Just research.
But I was doing some digging on the Glen Taylor Wolves and where things stand right now, okay? The man, first of all, and by the way, to preface this, is a good businessman, okay? Like the Star Tribune, he's had a ton of success. He is not a billionaire probably, or certainly a high millionaire because he's a bad businessman. But he is 79, okay? He purchased the franchise in 1994. And there is a chance that he, by doing so, preempted the potential move of this team. If you go back to then, the first group that owned the team, Marvin Harv, who were desperate to unload the team, in part because they owned the building, had an agreement to sell it to a group that was going to relocate the Wolves to New Orleans, all right?
Yep. Great
so
story.
that was blocked by the league, which is fantastic. Glen eventually steps in. Glen gets the team. So Glen did the cities, did us a solid by doing so. But Declan, you tweeted out this note this week that was circulating around. And I mean, this is where you get into the utter incompetence and embarrassment. And I'm not talking a bad team that's gone through some bad stretches. I'm talking largely entire existence, just a complete embarrassment and train wreck. What you tweeted out was the Wolves winning percentage right now sits at 39307. Okay. That surpasses the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 39320 for the worst winning percentage in North American sports, I believe, in major North American sports.
Correct.
Ever.
Correct.
Ever. This is we now hold in this town 2 North American sports records that you wouldn't wish on your worst enemy. This one, okay, that you wouldn't wish on most people. Is that fair?
Yes.
Most people?
Yeah.
This one and the Twins, of course, have lost a North American major sports record 18 consecutive playoff games. On the Wolves, in the last 17 years, 1 playoff appearance and 2 winning seasons. You have been above 500 in 17 years. So you were 7, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So since you were 7 years old,
yep,
or thereabouts, 1 playoff appearance.
No, I was more like 12. But
okay.
Yeah, I was like 12, 13.
1 playoff appearance and 2 winning seasons.
Yeah.
That's what it'll be after this year.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see here. Let me pick up the NBA standings so I know I've got this right.
Yep.
And right now, your Timberwolves are the worst team in the NBA at the All-Star break, which, by the way, All-Star break, what morons. Why are you playing All-Star?
Idiots.
A 7-29, a 194 winning percentage. So those are the facts right now. You have had in those 17 seasons 11 coaches. Your cumulative record in this stretch, so including the start with so far at the break, 7 wins this season, Declan.
Yep.
469 wins, 845 losses. 469, 845. The winning percentage there is actually below the winning percentage that the franchise has all time. It's 357.
Yeah. All
right. Put it all together. The futility is off the charts and has been.
Yeah.
It's time, Glenn. And here's the thing, too. I want this team to stay. I have no interest. I have seen teams leave. It sucks. Like there's no, you can joke all you want about good riddance. Have fun in Seattle or Vegas or Kansas City. I don't know. But you never want to lose a professional team. It's bad.
Yeah. The Swarm don't count either, by the way. Sorry.
Oh, no. I'm saying real professional teams that matter.
Yes.
Glen Taylor, though, I would rather have him roll the dice. And I know that his edict is that he wants to sell the team to a person that basically guarantees or signs papers and documents that he or she will keep the club here.
Yeah, that's a little weird.
Well,
I get it, but that's too much, man.
I would rather roll the dice
I agree with you.
on if that person, like, look, if that person tells Glenn, if that person steps to a microphone next week and says, okay, here's what I'm thinking. There is a 80% chance I keep the team here. Like, for the most part, I want to, I will, I think I will, right?
Yeah.
But there's a 20% chance that if things don't go right, I'm gone. Or you can keep it with Glenn. I'm at the point now, and I don't know where you are or where listeners are. I'm at the point now where I would look at the person who said 80%, and I would say, let's take the gamble. Let's take the chance.
Where I stand, going back to the whole KG dilemma of him wanting to buy the Wolves, it's twofold. Number one, I think it's a great idea for him to buy the Wolves. I know he's out right now, but just the idea of Kevin Garnett owning the Wolves sounds like a phenomenal idea. And from him and his investors, it's not like Kevin would be the sole proprietary owner of the franchise. It doesn't sound like he would be. He would have a pretty big say, I think, in the franchise.
Oh, he'd have a major say in the basketball operation.
But I don't think he would necessarily
he'd be involved.
The owner and or the primary man who's making the basketball decisions. He might have an influence, but I don't think he would have that job title. He just wants the Timberwolves as part of him. It's his baby. He built up this franchise, and it's been literally torn down ever since. On the flip side of that, to play devil's advocate against myself as I'm tangled up in my headphones here, if you look at other prominent athletes who have owned teams, and especially I'm going to name two that are even above Kevin Garnett and Wayne Gretzky and Michael Jordan, they're abysmal owners. They're horrible owners. Those two dudes don't know what they're doing when it comes to running a franchise, which is my point of I don't think Kevin Garnett would put himself in the position to be the sole owner of the team, because guys like MJ and Wayne Gretzky, the two of the greatest guys to ever do their sport, are bad owners.
Right, but that's partially because they get involved in decisions that they shouldn't be as far as the operation of the sport goes. That's bad.
So I have trepidations about that, about an athlete,
but
just because they mean a lot, and I know both Wayne and Michael aren't owning the teams they used to play for, so there is a difference there for sure. But there is something to be said of it sounds cool to have a prominent athlete be the owner, but it has not necessarily always worked out, is what I'm trying to get to it in the long run there.
But my thing now is I don't even care about that. I don't care about KG. I don't care about, I just want this team to be sold. And what I'm telling you is I'm willing to take a 20% or so risk that they would leave town, that they would relocate.
Yeah.
Because the 80% then is that you change. As much as he hates this term, Patrick Royce does. This applies perfectly in this discussion, okay? If there was ever a time to talk about culture, this is it. And it's not culture in the locker room. It's not culture just on the team. It is the culture of the entire franchise. And by the way, the Wolves have some very good employees, okay? So this is not saying that the entire thing is goofed up from a business side. But if you look at the one link here from the very top, from the head, the one link, and it is years of ineptitude. It is, there is no debate about sample size. There is no debate about, oh, you have some good years and some bad years, and you might get this right. There is nothing left to be discussed here. It is continually a laughingstock and a mess. And I think we've had so many people in this town, as far as the fan base goes, check out and not care, that we don't realize it now. Like, we don't even discuss it much because it's just like, oh, it's the Wolves. Oh, but they are the old school Cleveland Browns for the last X amount of years before this year. They are the Detroit Lions. Like, think about how we laugh at the Lions. Okay. They are the Lions.
Right.
We just have sort of thrown up our hands and said it's the Wolves, and so we don't pay attention and we don't care as much, and some people still care passionately. But that's the thing, is that's why I'm willing to take the risk that this team ends up in Poughkeepsie, because it's better than this. And here's my problem. There is no sign that under the current ownership this is going to end. There is zero sign.
Yeah. I think where I fall to, and not to bring it back to KG, because I do think now he's out and it's done. Kevin Garnett is not going to be owning this franchise. But I'm with you that, look, I'm not a humongous basketball fan. I grew up a big basketball fan. I loved Kevin Garnett era, and right around the time he started to get out of here and towards his exit, I just kind of stopped watching the Wolves as much as I do. I still turn them on. I know their roster. I've called Jaden McDaniels the next superstar. I know my basketball, Judd, is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, no question about it.
But at the same time, in all realistic expectations, you need to sell this team. It's time. And if that means there is even a higher chance than your 20% that they move, then they move. I don't necessarily want to see them go. I say it right now as in if they were bought tomorrow and they were sold to Seattle by Sunday, yeah, I'd be disappointed and it'd be something fun to talk about. I don't think it would crush me, but at the same time, once they were gone, reality would probably start to set in. Like, holy crap, we lost an NBA team. That does suck.
And we've lost National Hockey League team as well.
And exactly. And I think that's what I really can't stand. And even if you're not a big basketball fan, this whole idea of like, oh, well, just move. I don't care. I don't care about the Wolves. Just move. Like, okay. The same people that say that are diehard hockey fans. And most of them who are my age, who are 28, I was 4 months old when the North Stars left. You didn't see and know what it was like. Imagine the Wild leaving. Imagine the Minnesota Wild leaving and the uproar it would cause, right?
It's not fun.
It would not be fun. And even if so let's, again, devil's advocate against myself. Let's say you're an insane basketball fan. You can give a rat's ass about hockey, right? Mm-hmm. If you saw the Wild leave as a basketball fan, you would also be disappointed. You would be sad. That would stink. That would be awful to see. But Glen has to sell the team. Glen has to sell this team. I don't know if it's someone local. He stepped in at the 11th hour when they were, and I'm serious. I want a mini 30 for 30 on this almost move to New Orleans. It's one of my favorite
Bob
Wikipedia.
A boxing promoter who the National Basketball Association and Commissioner David Stern at that time had no interest in having anything to do with their league, had an agreement to buy the team.
Yeah.
And they were going to move the team. And I remember it vividly. The league just basically stepped in and said, you're not selling to them. But the whole story is great because Marv and Harv, they were the original expansion owners of the Wolves. They built the arena.
Target Center, yeah.
They own the arena.
Yeah.
So this was not a state subsidized
situation,
venture.
Right? Yeah.
There was I believe, was it Northwest Athletic Club that they owned at the time? It's Lifetime now.
Yeah.
I think they owned the chain of athletic clubs. They built one, which is still there, I think, in the bottom of the arena. And that whole thing went sideways and they were desperate. They were desperate to sell. And Glen did Glen stepped in and Glen saved it. But this is now 1994. And there was a decent run there. It was okay. It wasn't great. It was decent though. But when you have now 17 years of just the continuing problems and the coaching changes and the player, and look, I have no idea at this point in time how to parse out the brawl between KG and Glen. Like they're both at fault, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It should have been solved. It's now basically gone sideways twice, which is super embarrassing.
Yep.
But all of that being said, how many franchises currently can you name that has a major rift between the people that own the team and the biggest superstar in franchise history to the point of you can't even get that person back here to retire his number?
Mm-hmm.
Like that. But that's just if we're going to parse out the problems here, like that just goes in one box. Like if that was the only problem and the Wolves were successful, I'd be like, well, it is sort of weird and it feels hanky, but okay. But that's just one problem. And then your other problems are, and look, it's things like this too. The Ryan Saunders thing could not have been handled worse.
Yep.
The entire thing. Now, he was given the job at a time when he probably should have been retained as an assistant coach, all right? But look how the entire thing, starting from the day he got the job, the decision to hire a president of basketball operations, and then I don't care what you tell me, force the head coach down that guy's throat, and then to fire him like they did. Again, it's the culture.
Yep.
It's terrible.
It is.
And I don't know if Gerson talked a good game and doesn't know what he's doing. I don't know. But the entire franchise just is a continued laughingstock. And that has to end with one thing: the sale of the team. And then if the new person cleans house, they do.
Yep.
But at least it gives the fan base, as I said on Mackie and Judd Thursday, this town has a lot of good basketball fans.
It does. When basketball's good,
and look,
really, really good.
We are hockey guys.
Yeah.
But if the basketball team's good, it's awesome.
It is.
I still think that if
thing.
Gopher basketball is good, it's the best building in this town, okay? So if they're good, we're happy. Now imagine being, doubling down and being a huge basketball fan. And you've got this? And the sad thing, too, is the state of basketball here, as far as high school prospects go and the quality of play, has never been better.
Yep.
And these poor people have an NBA team that essentially, for lack of a better term as far as product goes, year after year gives them a middle finger.
Mm-hmm.
And Gopher basketball is awful now. They deserve better.
Yes, they do.
And I can tell you this, Wolves-wise, you are not going to improve this thing until this team is owned by somebody different.
Yep.
And if that's taking a small chance that you are going to have that team move, I would prefer that to this.
Finally, too, and I think if you poll the majority of Wolves fans, if you said if there's a 30% chance, even 40, you know what? No, I'm going to go up. I'm going to go 50. If it's a 50-50 chance that the Wolves would be, if tomorrow the Wolves are sold, Glen Taylor sells the Wolves, but it's a 50-50 chance they move or not. I think fans would take the risk instead of saying, no, keep it under Glen Taylor.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think they would. I think, honestly, you would.
Okay, topic 2. Zach Parise returns to the Wild lineup tonight.
Well, hopefully, right?
It's been confirmed.
It has been confirmed. Okay.
It's been confirmed.
Smarter people than us.
The head coach and the GM. In fact, Bill Guerin,
friend of the show,
the Wild GM was on The Scoop with Doogie, which you can find right now. Where exactly?
SKOR North, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts.
And here's what Bill had to say about the somewhat surprising to a lot of people decision to scratch Zach Parise after he took an extended shift on Monday. They scratched him for Wednesday's game.
Zach's a competitive guy, and there was no doubt that he was upset, and hey, rightfully so. I understand it, and it was a tough decision. I think Zach handled it well. I think Dino handled it well, and you know what? We're moving past it now. Zach's the pro, and he's a competitive guy. He's a proud guy, and we would expect him to be that way. You'll be held accountable, but you'll also be helped. Nobody's going to get dumped on or kicked to the curb or anything like that. It's just we have to do certain things for overall team success, and these guys all understand that. You know what? We're winning more than we're losing, and it's fun, and we're doing it because of certain things that us as a group have done and bought into, and we're going to continue to do that and continue on winning ways.
I absolutely love it. I love the entire thing, Dex. And the thing that I love the most is it was very clear after the Wild lost to the Canucks in the bubble last year, in Bill Guerin's conference calls, Zoom calls with the media, that he had a lot of things to say about the current state of that franchise and that team, and the fact that he had now seen them for a season, basically. And he said what we've all thought, which is accountability is low. You've got some players here, but they don't really win. And why? But none of that. So all of that was lip service until you had a stunt like Parise pulled on Monday, right? And then the question is, okay, you've talked a big game about what you don't like. What are you going to do about it? And I don't care who had the pen in their hands when they took it and put it through Parise's number for Wednesday's game. What I care about is Bill and Dean made a statement that spoke volumes, because you can tell me all you want that you're frustrated by the team and the players, but until you actually take a stand and do something that's drastic, I don't buy it. That helped me buy it.
Yeah, it was impressive for him to do that. It took a lot of cojones for them to do that, and I respect it. Guerin said in the summer, I believe, with Michael Russo, friend of the show, that there's something rooted here in the culture and it needs to be addressed. That was the first real tipping point, back. I think that was either right before the return to play or shortly after the Wild got bounced by Vancouver.
It was after.
And that was the first, and something that you and I, to humble brag, had been saying for a long time, but it was the first time everyone else kind of realized, oh, really? I never noticed that. I didn't notice that was a thing. It's like, well, it has been a thing. You've been sleeping under a rock if you haven't noticed it. And Parise, who was almost traded just a year ago this time at the trade deadline to New York, something went wrong at the last minute. Lamoriello is a nutcase. I'm just going to go on the record and say that.
He
Something
is as old school gets, boy.
Something wacky happened.
So true.
And he almost was traded, and I think that's going to pick back up here. It's going to get difficult to trade him because those cap.
Can you trade that contract?
You can, but there's just going to be.
And by the way,
cap casualties.
Come out of it. We are right now, and I don't know if it's because of the shortened seasons or what. We are in the season of the benching and scratches.
Yeah,
Laine, Dubois, which is torch, so it's not shocking there. Bennett again.
Did Eichel get scratched?
Your guy with the Rangers got benched last
kiss
night.
of death.
Zibanejad. Well, and they say it's COVID, or they don't say that. People think that his bout with COVID has caused him to not play well.
Sure.
But basically, I think in the second period last night against the Devils, a game I think that the Rangers won 6-1, they benched him.
Yep.
They benched him for an extended period. Parise got scratched. You know what, though? I like it. I like taking control. So what's your expectation? So Zach's played 19 of the 20 games now since he got scratched on Wednesday. He's got 3 goals, 6 assists. He is on the third line. He has not had a good year, period. Do you think that this provides a spark? Because here's my thought. I don't know that there's a ton more to get here. Like, I think he will go through a hot streak. So I think at some point in time, he'll go through a Parise-like stretch and get some goals and some points. But I don't think this was done. I think this was done as a punishment for his decision. I don't think this was done in totality to provide a spark, because I don't know that there's a big spark to provide. I might be wrong, but he to me looks very much like a third line guy now.
He does.
So like, I don't think he's gonna come back and take off.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough because I think that he'll come back ready to go, and there'll be a fire underneath his belly and whatever, and that happens in hockey. It's a short-term little bump of success, and I'm sure something will go right there. But I'm more curious of how the team responds. You played Vegas well on Monday. You did not play very great on Wednesday, and I'm curious to see what happens here against Arizona. I mean, you're still in the thick of this. The Wild aren't going away.
You can beat the Coyotes.
You can beat the Yotes.
Like you're back to a team that you can 100% beat.
Coyotes aren't a good team. So I expect the Wild to be back, and the Wild will be better for this. I'm sure Zach is ticked off. Guerin said he's ticked off.
But is it going to help, do you think?
Yeah, I think it is. I don't think it's going to hurt the team.
No. I'm saying him.
Is it going to help Zach?
It's a great move for the team. I just don't know that there's a lot more to get. I do think he's got a stretch where he gets some points and goals.
Yep.
But I don't think that this is going to transform his season.
No, not necessarily.
I just don't think he's got that.
His shot quantity is about the same as it was last year. His shooting percentage is lower. So you would say, okay, there is some unluckiness that's happening there. So he should, be able to get up from where he was earlier this season. I'm curious to see what happens. It'll be interesting.
All right, let's get to it. Rom-com rewind. How about that, Dex?
Fever
pitch.
Yeah, Jimmy Fallon.
Your Fallon's actually not bad at all. Jimmy Fallon, Drew Barrymore, the Boston Red Sox, and the curse comes to an end, and we review Rom-com rewind. Fever pitch.